and my name is Talia Charney. I will be giving you this webinar today, which I've done many for Healthy Planet, and I think this is one of the lighter and more fun ones, but really applicable for everybody, that everyone can enjoy and everybody can benefit from. Now you can see me, but you can't see Wesley, who's my co-host tonight, and he's generously helping outside of his work hours to co-host with me. So he is going to be taking care of the chat and monitoring that. So you guys can chat and comment and share things with one another. Wesley will be reading those. And he will also direct you when necessary to, if you want to ask me a question, I will be getting to them at the end. So for that, please then put your questions in the Q&A, and that's where I'm going to get to at the end. I am going to be showing a lot of recipes and such, so a couple of bits of advice. Firstly, to know that this is going to be emailed to you, the recording. And Wesley, you can remind people who are late and who don't know that this will be emailed to them. So you can watch it again. You can have your phone ready, take screenshots if you want to remember recipes. You can rewatch it. And also, Wesley's going to share with you most of the important links at the bottom of slides to videos that I mentioned that will be very helpful. And he's going to do that maybe throughout, but also at the end, you'll get all the links together so you can copy and take those with you as a resource. Okay, without further ado, let me jump into this presentation or webinar. As I mentioned, my name is Talia Charney. It's my pre-COVID optimistic self. I'm going to try to bring that out and hone that person. And I am the Nutritional and Health Education Manager for Now Health Foods, which is a very big supplement company, and they are out of Guelph, Ontario. I'm a holistic nutrition and wellness coach. I'm an author, an educator, and a speaker, and I'd like to say I'm a DIY novice. So I'm not an expert in anything I'm talking about tonight. I don't have, I'm not, in the sense I don't have a profession of making candles. But I do my research, and if you've attended my talks before, you know that I will provide you with good sources and enough detail that hopefully will be very useful for you. And these are my training values that I hold dearly. And just a quick introduction to the Now family, because they are co-hosting along with Healthy Planet. This is a family-owned company. We're 56 years old. These are the founders. Well, that's the founder here, Elwood Richard. And there's a great book online if you ever want to know about Now. It's a fascinating story. It's about an hour read, and you can actually download it right off of nowfoods.ca. And a couple of disclaimers. Please don't disregard specific cleaning instructions for your products. I'll go through some cleaning products or clothing or surfaces or washing machines. So there'll be a little bit of DIY cleaning products. And also, any undesirable results from using recipes shared here or in the links is at the user's own risk. Of course, I try my best to advise you on all risks, but just wanted to put that out there. Now, why am I even doing something on DIY living? Well, of course, some of the purposes are here. I want to provide you with the ability to make things yourself that are safe, that are effective, that are eco-friendly, which they often are in comparison to what you buy commercially, that are economical, and the most important part here, that have a way of connecting you to the things that you use. I don't know how many of you know of Marie Kondo, but she, talks about like getting rid of things and just holding on to those things that if you hold them close to you, provide meaning. And I, just as an example, I never found any meaning or joy in cleaning. But once I made my own cleaning products and I had them in my hand, it was just a whole different experience. So I think it's an amazing thing that you can experience or pass on, say, to kids, nephews, nieces, or anyone. It's great for kids to get them to make something, even if it's once. You have this new appreciation for that thing that you made because it came from you, and now you understand the process that goes through to make it. And even if you buy it from then onwards, you have a respect for what goes into making this thing. It's just like for those of you who have a passion for cooking, You can go out and eat a great dish, but it's just such a sense of accomplishment and a great thing when you make your own beautiful dish. So I'll be covering a lot of recipes, some in a little more detail than others. Some of them I'm just going to be directing you towards good sources to get into more detail. And I have vetted a lot of those sources and spent a lot of time to find you good sources. So a lot to go through. I'm going to start with cleaning products because that's something we for sure all use no matter who you are. Cleaning products can be made just using simple single ingredients. With these ingredients I'm showing you here, you can clean everything and anything in your house, I promise. You don't even need all of these, but I've separated them here into substances that are very alkaline, like baking soda, more acidic, like vinegar, and some that are neutral. And together with this great chemistry, when we mix them, they can do a lot. And I'll be showing some products from Simply Clean and Eco Pioneer, because those are two companies that provide a lot of these single ingredient ingredients that you will need, and they are Canadian, and you might be able to find them or order them from Healthy Planet. So starting with very basic, you can make your own liquid soap. And I like doing that simply because I don't want to use more plastic and buy soap in plastic. So by actually using pure soap flakes you can buy, and just mixing that with one ingredient, believe it or not, which is glycerin, you can make your own liquid soap. And again, some of these I'm not going to read through all the instructions. You can take a picture, you can come back to it if you're interested in doing it. And there is a video here on YouTube showing how it is done. But liquid soap I have made with some success. This is a unique product, even though it's just vinegar, that I use a lot because it's a 5-time concentrate. So it's 5 times more concentrated than regular vinegar. So that means just 3 tablespoons of this vinegar would be equivalent to a cup of vinegar. And that's useful for 2 reasons. One, if you have to go to, say, you're using it in your laundry or something and you have to travel, you can carry a much smaller amount. But secondly, sometimes we want a higher concentration. It's also more eco-friendly, of course, I should say that, because you've got 5 times more essentially in here than you would get in another bottle, because you're going to dilute it with water. But sometimes you don't want to dilute it. So once or twice a year, I do this, put vinegar, the 3 times concentrate, in a plastic bag tied around the shower head, which really gets, just like your kettle, it gets clogged up with minerals. And what vinegar does really well is it releases those minerals, or I call them an alkaline messes. Minerals are alkaline. And so, especially if you have hard water where you are, you'll get more of them. And so the flow will go better. And it's something that we don't usually think of doing. Very simple. But of course, you can use it for all kinds of stuff. Now you all use a multi-purpose spray cleaner. So here's a simple recipe. You're going to mix water with borax. Here you can see borax. It's just comes in a powder. Castile liquid soap. That's readily available at any health food store. Dr. Bronner's is the most well-known brand out there of Castile soap, named after, Castile, the region of Castile in France, where Castile soap comes from. And adding essential oils into your cleaning products makes them more interesting, more pleasurable, and can also act as, extra oomph, antimicrobials and such for your cleaning products. So this is simple, and you just make it on demand. I recommend making small amounts because anything that contains water can grow microbes in it. So you just make it as you want for when you need it. Now, an all-purpose scouring powder is a great thing to make versus using some of those brands that are more harsh and toxic. I do recommend, though, when you're making stuff, wear gloves. You can even wear a mask if you're using powders. We all have masks. We know why. We all got masks. You don't want to inhale those powders. And, even goggles if you're working with liquids, because even if you're working with natural stuff like vinegar, it can splash in your eye. But this simple mixture of borax with baking soda, and you can add in some essential oils. Lime is one of my favorite. I love the smell for cleaning. and then just put it in a jar called natural abrasive. And you can use that in place of what you would use products that are natural abrasives like Vim or something like that. For scrubbing, say in your oven and that sort of thing. Now you can take that all-purpose scouring powder that you've already made, mix it with some Castile soap, and now you have a degreaser. It's going to look kind of like this. It's like a thick liquid. You can add it, put some onto a toothbrush, and put it into, put it anywhere where you really want to remove some grime and dirt. One of the best tips that I learned when you're doing your own DIY cleaning, because not all of these products will be as strong as the commercial products you're used to because they have less harsh chemicals, is dwell time. Sometimes it's not just about how strong it is that makes it work or not work, but it's how long you let it contact that surface. So the longer you let it sit, say for 10 minutes, the better it's going to work. So just walk away, go watch a little bit of Netflix, come back. I was interested in, transitioning to laundry sheets because they're light and they seem so easy. But I did my research recently, and maybe this will change. And this is recent 2021 article, and even though most of this is natural, what I was interested in is it's called PVAs in these sheets, polyvinyl alcohol. It's a plastic polymer. It's a long chain and it's plastic. And so I was interested in like, is this safe for the environment? And based on this most recent review, it said, although the information we have is limited, there seems to be a lack of full biodegradability of these PVAs under conditions that would reflect on normal marine environment. So for me, I still don't want to use these even though they're really convenient. Maybe there's a company out there that does it some other way, not that I know of and have found, and you can ask that question. So I'm still sticking with making my own laundry soap, which I've been doing for maybe 3 years now, and it works perfectly fine. It's just a mixture of, and both of these companies, Simply Clean and Eco Pioneer, carry, you mix these powders of borax, soap flakes, and washing soda. And basically that's what you use. Now I add a little hot water, kind of mix it with my hand with gloves on into that hot water, and then put it into the laundry. Even if I'm washing with cold water, it's fine, but I like to mix it in some hot water. In terms of how much you use, so it's half a cup for older machines. Most of you may have the newer high efficiency models than just a quarter cup, but you also may adjust it by how much of the, if you're doing a really tiny, just like you would with normal laundry detergent, you will adjust it based on the amount of clothes that you are washing. And I make a lot, so enough to last me a few months. Now, if you want to remove stains from your tub or your tile or your grout, the secret ingredient for removing stains to make something whiter, say like the toilet here, is hydrogen peroxide. That, of course, is what people use sometimes to whiten their teeth. So it is effective, but it needs, again, that dwell time. So again, mix these ingredients. You can interchange the essential oils as you like if you want something different. I would stick with all of the citrus for cleaning. There are some essential oils that can be very caustic on on your skin, like cinnamon. So stick with the citrus and you'll generally be okay if you're not putting it on your body and you're using this stuff. Window cleaner is pretty simple. Most people will use vinegar and water, but I learned that cornstarch can be helpful to remove some of the streaks. And again, you can use whatever essential oil you like. Citrus is lovely. Just shake well before using because when you put essential oils in water, they don't actually mix very well. They're not soluble, so shake it vigorously before you spray it. Another tip here is use a little bit of rubbing alcohol on a cotton pad for little goopy spots that you can't get off. Floor cleaners, there are two camps out there, and I don't mind whichever one you belong to is fine with me, but there are those who like to use soap and those who like to use vinegar. So if you want soap for this recipe, you can use Castile soap. And if you want vinegar, you can use vinegar. Do not mix them. This is a common mistake. Don't mix Castile soap specifically, which comes really concentrated, and that's why it's a bit more eco-friendly, because the Castile soap, you often dilute it with a lot of water. But if you mix Castile soap and vinegar, one is alkaline, one is acidic, they will neutralize each other and you'll get this floating blob in your cleaning product, which won't work very well. And then, 5 to 10 drops of essential oil. That really depends on what you're using. Some of them are really strong and you'll notice and you'll use it and you go, oh my God, next time I need to use less. Hardwood floors, be careful, avoid vinegar on those. You probably know that if you have a hardwood floor. I'm going to take sips of water throughout this because I have a little bit of a scratchy throat. So the citrus is nice because other than having a beautiful aroma that's very, very, very present and in your face right away so you can enjoy it, probably has some degreasing properties as well. And also consider the, pine and atlas. Those are lovely if you want your place to smell like you're walking out in a forest, especially when we're trapped inside all winter. Or if you have bugs like the ants, you can consider peppermint. So different options. You can also use all of these to make air fresheners, and I have a recipe for that at the end. Liquid hand soap I like to make as well. So for that, you can again use the Castile soap, Dr. Bronner's, or whatever you can find. And I like to add in some vitamin E oil because all of us have, from excessive use of alcohol, dry hands and the winter's coming. You can use any oil, but almond oil is one that I like. It's quite popular. And I suggest an essential, you don't have to have an essential oil, but if you are, I suggest something like lavender, which is really gentle because you're using the soap so frequently. You don't want to cause irritation to your hands. If you've got very sensitive skin, can even lower the amount of drops here. All right, now this is something I haven't yet done, but I'm really keen on it, which is making my own soap. But I had a lovely nutritionist who has done a lot of soap making herself guide me on this and on some good videos to watch. So essentially, when you make soap, the 3 ingredients are you mix oil and water, and then the secret ingredient is lye. You can't make soap, real soap, without lye, otherwise sodium hydroxide. Lye is very alkaline. It can be caustic to your skin, but once you finish making the soap, that lye is transformed, is no longer there. So it's a chemical reaction. So you don't have to worry about the end product, but you just have to take some safety precautions. Now, introducing the nerd in me here, I have to tell you a little bit about how soap works because I think it's fascinating. So if you were to drop that soap that you made, let's say, drop, it's going to be a liquid soap in this case, into a glass of water, it's going to make a formation like this. And the reason is because soap, as the end product, it has on one end, it has this like a head that loves water, water-loving head. So when you drop it into the water, all of those heads are facing into the water. But then it has these tails. They hate water, so they huddle together and hide away from the water. In contrast, they love fat. And fat is basically grease, is the dirt that you're trying to lift up. Instead of dropping in water, if you actually put it on something and scrub it onto some dirt, then all that those fat-loving parts will go stick to the dirt. The water-loving parts will go on the outside. And as you scrub it, the water-loving parts will lift up and go with the water. So you need water to wash it away and will pull that dirt off because of the other ends that are stuck to the dirt. So how cool is that? Tell Wesley in the chat if you think that's cool. Or maybe you can comment that, oh my God, she is such a nerd, which I'm totally fine with. I love nerds. So here is a recipe for making soap. We've got a mixture of olive oil, and you have to have a scale to weigh this because you want to be very precise. You're going to mix olive oil with liquid coconut oil, which is different than solid. called fractionated coconut oil. Now makes these with sweet almond oil. So we've got 3 kinds of oil. Then we have to have that lye. I was told by my friend that you can just go to a hardware store and that's the least expensive lye that you can buy. Water, essential oil in this case, lavender, something nice and gentle. And then just to make the mold, you can simply use a 1-liter milk container, but other people get fancy with other types of molds, but you can pour it all into an empty milk container. And that will make about 1 pound of soap. Great for gifts. Now, in order to make your own soaps, you need to, unless you're, a math genius, you need a soap calculator. And there's this great website here. And that soap recipe was made using this website, which I haven't yet used, but this is a snapshot. So we've got that coconut, olive oil, and almond oil. And what it shows you, what it spits out in terms of the information you can see here, is it tells you different properties of that soap, how hard it is. You want your soap to be hard enough that it doesn't, just fall apart and kind of melt and go all over. You want it to be cleansing. Cleansing is what removes the dirt. But if it's excessively cleansing, that's going to be harsh on your skin. So you want it to be conditioning, which is what makes it less harsh on your skin. And these 2 things are kind of opposite. So a soap that is really cleansing will be not very conditioning, and one that's really conditioning will be not very cleansing. So it's a balance, and people like different kinds of soaps for that reason. And there's certain oils like coconut oil is really, really cleansing, but 0 conditioning. Where castor oil, just in complete contrast, is really conditioning but doesn't do anything to clean or cleanse. So we make a mixture. This is a list of the equipment that you will need. Most of it you probably have at home, except the lye and a kitchen scale. You definitely need that with a tari function or tar function. I'm not sure how to pronounce that. That means basically that you can put a container on it and you click something and then the weight goes down to 0, so it doesn't count the weight of the container. That's what that function is. You wouldn't need an immersion blender because although you can mix it by hand, apparently it takes hours. Some kind of oils you would need. Goggles, definitely advisable. And the most important tip I learned from Colette Yvonne, who provided all this information, is, and you'll see this in the videos you watch, is to add that lye, which is a powder, to the water. So you got your water and you add the lye in versus the other way around. You don't want to have lye and then pour water in where it can splash back up into your face. So that's an important tip. And these instructions here, I will not read through them, but again, you can do a screenshot of it or come back and watch the recording to see the instructions or watch one of those videos. But she provided detailed instructions, which are very clear. I read through them. And she also offered some additional resources, some more basic methods of making. It's good to first watch it on YouTube and get an idea, or for people who are more advanced, she provided a couple of videos as well. And again, I want to thank Colette Yvonne. She's a great nutritionist in Ontario for her expertise on soap making. DIY with beeswax. So beeswax can be a great do-it-yourself ingredient to use for a number of different things. This is the beeswax and its chemical formula. And beeswax helps make things stiffer, like you'll find it in things like shoe polish. It waterproofs things. So I make a body butter within it as well, so that it kind of seals the skin in a way. It softens and lubricates the skin. So it's really great for different DIY projects. But one of them, and I have done this, is I have made candles, not a lot, but a couple of times. And you can find online places where you can buy just kind of all the basic ingredients for making candles, which is what you see here. The wick, the thing to hold the wick in place, but there's a lot of stuff you can use in place of that, so you don't have to buy. You can use a popsicle stick instead of this. Instead of buying a double boiler, although it's very helpful, you can just use a glass pot, which essentially the point of this is this sits inside a pot of simmering hot water. So when you put your wax in here to melt, you don't want this sitting straight on the stove because that will be too much heat and it will burn. So you need a buffer. So you're going to have it sitting. This is to hold it over another pot. So it's kind of hanging suspended in the waters underneath. But I'll show you a little later a workaround for that. And you do need the beeswax pellets. Now you can of course make candles from soy as well, but I think the creme de la creme of candles are considered the beeswax ones, and they have a lovely scent all by themselves without adding any artificial scents. Another thing that you can do with beeswax, which is fun and great for gifts, is to make wraps. Actually, just tonight I had one. Now I think I put it into my drawer here. Let me see. I should just lean back and grab it out. I don't think maybe you can see it too. Yeah, I don't think with my background here you can see it, but I've used wraps and I've used soy wraps and I've used wax wraps. And I find the wax wraps last longer, are softer, and I really prefer them. But it's very simple. You just need a piece of material, any material from old clothes you can upcycle. You need an iron, you need beeswax. And this particular video, it was recommended to use jojoba oil, which is not in most recipes. And the reason for that, jojoba oil actually is a wax. It's not an oil, so it's quite unique. People love it for their skin, but it makes the wrap more pliable. And a really nice soft wrap is the best to be able to wrap it over or around your fruit. So this would be fun for gifts. Now next, body butter. Time for another sip. I have made body butter quite a few times. So I can attest for the fact that this recipe works very well. I do put essential oils in mine. It's optional if you don't like scents or have allergies or whatever. I put here, this is not interchangeable in the sense that the particular essential oils I've recommended here, you cannot just exchange them for other ones because I understand the safety of different essential oils to go on the body. And so at these doses I've recommended, I wouldn't, if you just say replaced, you put 10 drops of cinnamon, you'd be causing harm on your skin. So 10 to 20 drops of each of these is going to give you a 1 to 2% dilution of essential oils. And that's what I'm going for. That's what's safe for the body. You could put, if you really like one of them, you could, I guess, put a bit more, but say, so be 10 drops of patchouli, 10 lavender, 10 frankincense, and 10 of sweet orange. Then you need some liquid oils. This goes by weight, so you'll need a scale. 33 grams of liquid oils. You could use just one, all almond, but I use a mixture of almond, jojoba, and grapeseed. So any liquid oils you have, as long as it comes to 33 grams. Then you need your solid oils, which will have to be melted. And I've got by grams here, shea and cocoa butter. So this is going to make it nice and thick. So it's not a runny oil, it's a butter, beeswax, and vitamin E. The great thing about making body butter, which is useful for when you're making do-it-yourself projects, is you don't need any preservatives. Why? Because there's no water in it. And where you have water, you've got bacteria growing. So it's a much more complicated process to make creams and such that have water in them, such as you would buy commercially, and then you do need to start adding preservatives. And so I mentioned before that you don't need to buy a double boiler, but you can take a glass, something that hopefully is stable enough that when it heats, it's not going to crack. Put it into your pot, and you're going to simmer this like, you don't have it boiling, but just simmering enough to melt those solid butters. And the directions are here. Basically, you're just weighing everything, adding it, into a container, melting it all. You don't put the essential oils in until the very end because you don't want them to be, they'll evaporate or get damaged with the heat. Once everything is melted, you have to put it into the refrigerator for a while until it sort of, gets pretty hard. So soft enough to penetrate with a whisk, but firm to the touch. And then you do need to have this bit of equipment here to make it nice and fluffy. And that's the funnest part at the end, just sort of going around and, for 5 minutes or so and watching this transform into a lovely whipped body butter. And there is a video here on YouTube that you can watch. I don't think this is the exact recipe that I provided, but it gives you the gist of it to see, so that will be helpful. And I make a big batch and I give a lot of it away, or I keep some of it in the refrigerator just because it can take me 6 months myself to go through everything. Deodorant. So you're probably aware that there are baking soda based deodorants out there. And this looked like I took a recipe I saw online and modified it a bit in the sense that I selected my own essential oils. So 18 to 36 drops total of all of these different essential oils to make a 1 to 2% dilution. Again, you should not just substitute this with any other essential oils because some can be very harsh on the skin, and I've picked ones that are more gentle. So stick with these. And then the baking soda, you've got coconut oil, shea butter, arrowroot powder, and vitamin E are the main ingredients. They're basically going to be mixed together. This does require, again, that double boiler because you always have to melt those solid butters. And once that's melted, then, you're mixing everything in and essentially just letting it set. Some people are sensitive to baking soda. So some people will complain that these sort of deodorants will cause irritation. So here are some tips. Firstly, don't apply directly after shaving. Just right after you shave, there's irritation, the pores are more open. Also, make a small batch the first time and adjust down the amount of baking soda in subsequent batches until you find the amount that works for your skin. So if that first batch doesn't, give it to your friends, maybe a little bit of a controversial gift. Give someone deodorant. Say, hey, it doesn't say anything about you. I just made this and I can't use it. So be careful when you're giving this as a gift. All right, so homemade perfume. Now, actually, if you go on the Healthy Planet YouTube channel, I did an entire 1 hour training on just making perfume. So I'm giving you a snapshot, but if you're interested, you can go and search on their channel. Perfuming, I think I'm the only person who's taught that. There's a certain art to perfuming where you take essential oils that are deemed top notes, middle notes, and base notes and mix them together to make a perfect blend. This isn't, set in stone, but most of the blend usually is going to be the middle notes, about 50%, and then 30% top notes and 20% base notes. What the heck am I talking about? These are just descriptions of how long the essential oils linger around. So top notes release very quickly, like citrus. You can smell them right away, unmistakable. Then they also disappear very quickly, and then you can notice the middle notes maybe many minutes later or an hour or two later, and then the last to go are the base notes, and they evaporate the least quickly off of your skin, and you will notice them. It's kind of like a time release effect, and together they provide this nice harmony. Now you can go to the Now website, and I suggest you do if you're interested in making perfumes, for a detailed pamphlet that you can download and print that includes this graphic here. That's really important. This is essentially what you're going to need to know the details of mixing. But here are got top notes, middle notes, and bottom notes. You can see I've listed essential oils that are top notes. Middle notes are all of this section, and these essential oils like vanilla are the bottom notes, or you got your Atlas cedar. And these are just divided by different categories. You have your floral, citrusy, minty, herbal, earthy, and such. So, I mean, those are all your preference. So you're going to mix a certain percentage of top notes. Maybe you just choose one, maybe you choose three, middle notes and bottom notes. It's really all up to you. But then there's some other information here that's very important, where I have MSD, which basically means maximum safe dilution. There's certain essential oils that have a very, a known dilution that is the maximum for most people that's safe to apply to the skin. So that means, for example, gonna take rosemary here is 16% rosemary. So if you make a perfume and it's 16% of that is rosemary, that is the maximum amount you can put in before you're likely to cause irritation, either once or over time. But we don't typically use the maximum. That's just a warning of like, don't go past this. We're typically going to use much less. And so especially if you're beginning, you might want to start by using things that have no maximum dilution, meaning they still have to be diluted, but we don't know of a maximum. They're pretty gentle, like sweet orange or chamomile, or myrrh or patchouli, but maybe stay away from those that have like cinnamon, which is the big red flag. 0.1% is the maximum. In order to make a product with less than 0.1% of cinnamon, you have to make a huge batch to dilute that much. So I never use cinnamon if I make perfumes or anything really. I just leave it up to the experts out there. But this is going to be very useful. Now you can make two kinds of perfumes. You can make an alcohol-based or you can make a oil-based. The alcohol base has 3 ingredients: a high percentage alcohol, distilled water. I use tap water, but that's what you usually see suggested, and then your essential oils. And that alcohol is going to help solubilize mix the essential oils properly into the water, because if you just put them in water, they'll float on the top and it doesn't work well. Time for some water again. So this is sort of the percentage that it goes in. If you had a container like this is a nice little spray bottle. You'd put about 3/4 of it is going to be alcohol. You might drop your essential oils in first, fill it up 3/4 with alcohol, then a little bit of distilled water, and you're good to go. And here's an example of a recipe. Now I'm showing this is a 10% dilution. So it's pretty strong. And in order for it to be safe still, you're going to have to use essential oils that have, that no maximum dilution, or the maximum dilution is well below that 10%. So I've got a recipe for you here. We've got our sweet orange top note, ginger and geranium middle notes. So 3 drops and 2 drops, and then vanilla and vetiver. And here you have a lovely perfume, which I've named Fresh, Spicy, and Sweet based on that chart. It's a lot of fun to try out these. Geranium is just one of my favorite. Great floral smell. Or you can make an oil-based perfume. They stay on the skin longer because it's oil, because alcohol evaporates, so you'll smell it for a little bit longer lasting. And any oil can be used, but you want to use an oil that doesn't have a strong odor, because you want to smell the essential oils, not the oil. Jojoba and coconut oil are my 2 favorite to use. Jojoba oil is definitely a little more pricey, but it's lovely. It has an excellent shelf life because it's a wax, lasts many, many, many months. And the liquid coconut oil also is fairly neutral smelling, a little bit less expensive if you want, and it's a little bit thinner in its consistency. Now I've just named this Talia's Perfect Blend because it's perfect for me, because I love this. So I've got my lime, 5 drops of rose, 4 drops of jasmine, and 5, so that should have been, I shouldn't have put parts, but drops of vanilla oil to make a blend there. I thought that I had a different slide, so I apologize about that. This is the same one. Here I've got the drops. I put a little bit more detail in this one because some of these did have a maximum dilution. So lime, it's 0.7%. That's why I've only used 1 drop. And rose and jasmine are a little harder to work with. That's why I made your recipe, because they're already diluted. this is in jojoba oil already, both of these. And most of the now essential oils are 100% pure, but those that are very expensive, like jasmine and rose, are already diluted so that you don't have to pay, $100, $200 for pure rose, which would be outrageous. So that's why I've done the math, and it's a bit complicated, and provided you with a recipe of my favorite perfume that you can know is going to be very gentle. Then I have a bunch of odds and ends I want to share of things that you can make. So you've got the beeswax wraps. I feel like I already did this one. Yes, I think I did. Okay. How did I miss that? Moroccan clay mask. This is fun and easy to make. A very easy recipe. And it's online. We do have some recipes online. You take Moroccan red clay powder. You can use a different kind, but this is a more gentle one, and I like that. I have sensitive skin. Rosemary essential oil with rosehip seed oil and the Moroccan clay, and you just mix it. I actually sometimes just do this right in my hand and mix it if you want to make a smaller amount, and put it on the face for a nice face mask. Another super easy recipe, and this is great to give for gifts. You will impress people, but it doesn't take a lot of time. It's very quick. This is a body scrub. So you need something that's going to do the scrubbing. That's sugar. You might see recipes with salt, a nice fine sugar. And we've got rosehip seed oil, which is popular, especially for more mature skin. We've got lavender oil here. Got argan oil, another very popular topical oil. I love using vitamin E just because it's, again, soothing and gentle, and vanilla in this one. And you basically just mix all of that into a container and gift it or use it. So there's no cooking and not much to it. And you can see a recipe here on Now Foods as well. A great DIY ingredient to do some interesting things like bath bombs is citric acid. This is the key secret ingredient. You can't make these things without it. Now actually has it. Eco Pioneer carries it as well. If you're making a lot, you can get this larger container. Citric acid is used for other things as well. But one of the things I love making is, I call them fizzy toilet refreshers. Here's online where I got this from. So you're basically going to mix these ingredients together: baking soda, citric acid, dish detergent. So notice I didn't put Castile soap. In this case, you need dish detergent, which is different in its acid alkaline. 20 drops of essential oil of your choice. In this case, you can use any you want because you're not putting it on your body, so we don't have to worry about that. Some kind of silicone ice cube tray. So it has to be silicone because you want to be able to push these tablets out of it after they harden. And an airtight jar to store it in if you want. You're basically just mixing these ingredients together, pushing the resulting mush that you have into the silicone tray, and putting it into a refrigerator overnight, and then you'll find you can just pop them out, and it's great. So after you use the toilet, you just drop one in and you'll see it a little bit of fizzing, like a bath bomb, really. Bath bomb for the toilet. Similar concept here is to make vapor shower pucks. So these are like bath bombs, but for the shower instead, you need a silicone tray as well. Citric acid is the ingredient that you have to have, and essential oils of your choice. And you're just going to mix the ingredients to form a thick paste, and again, push it into your mold, put it in the refrigerator, or let it dry overnight. And then you have these, you can put it into when you have a shower, just, on the ground. And so this is, the shower version of a bath bomb. And we do actually have, Healthy Planet has these in their stores, but these little tear off recipe cards that you can find. And instead of using single essential oils, sometimes it's nice to have these already mixed formulas, like Peaceful Nights. You're having a shower at night and you want to calm down, or Cheer Up Buttercup. You need to be uplifted in the morning, something that's going to get you a little peppy. lots of citrus, or clear the air, purifying, you're a little bit unwell under the weather. Bath bombs I have not made because I don't have a bath bomb mold. I suppose they don't have to be round, but they also require that citric acid just like the rest and some bomb molds. I'm not sure we get them, but I'm sure online you can get everything. And this Epsom salt is one of the key ingredients as well, and you need some oil and essential oil. In this case, I would stick with the essential oil here because these are dissolving in the bathtub. So you do have to be careful about what essential oil you're using. So it's not something that's going to bother your skin. Orange is very gentle, just like lavender. So stick with this one unless you really understand which ones are or not gentle enough. Ambience and scents. So lovely just to make your own air fresheners because you can do whatever you want. They're not going on the body, so you can put whatever you want in them, but you can put a pre-mixture like this bottled bouquet. The key, there's a lot of online recipes that are missing, and key ingredient is alcohol. And that is because if you just fill this with water and essential oil, those essential oils are just floating on the top because they don't mix in water. You can really try to shake it before you spray it, but it doesn't work very well in comparison to when you have some alcohol in there that helps them disperse naturally, and you can still shake it before you use it. Here are just some ideas of, because there's so many lovely combination products that now has naturally lovable, a little bit of romance in the air. You can of course diffuse these as well. Power to Flower, Peace and Harmony, Bottled Bouquet. We all have a different response to different smells, so I couldn't tell you which one you're going to love the best, but I do love Power to Flower if I had to pick one. And now, this is the last slide, Wesley, my co-host, is going to paste these into the chat so that you can then copy them and have them for yourself to be able to download that handout on perfuming that I showed you. It's really great. Download it, print it. I also suggest that you go to the YouTube channel so if you go to YouTube and then you enter in Healthy Planet, you'll find their channel. You can subscribe to it. And then once you're in there, you can, I think, search for perfuming or DIY perfuming. This is very handy for all things essential oils. There's a calculator on the Now Foods website and just an infographic that will help you easily create the right percentage dilution that you need. So say you want to put, you're making a perfume and you filled it up with oil and you want to know how much of that essential oil can you put in if you want 2%. And this calculator will tell you immediately. You can enter in the size of your bottle, or the ounces of your bottle, the percentage you want, and click, and it gives you the amount, the drops. So it's very easy. If you want to know about different carrier oils and their properties, like coconut oil, jojoba oil, how are they different, which one might you want to use, you can look at this chart here. It's just a video about now quality of essential oils in general, if you want to look that up. If you want a little bit of information about different essential oils and their attributes, there's a chart. Making beeswax candles. There's a YouTube video which I thought was really good for that. Probably give you everything you need to know. And how to make the beeswax wraps as well. The video based on the recipe I showed you. And then making soap. There's some of those important links for the simpler versions of the recipes. I figured most of you are probably, like me, going to be beginners in that. And folks, that is a wrap. Perhaps a wax wrap. So now I hope you enjoyed that. I'm happy to take any questions that there are. And if you put your questions in the chat for me by mistake, please transfer them to the Q&A. All right. I'll just get out of my presentation here. we go.